Like I promised in the last episode, after being colonized for 150 years by the British, so many people still encounter so many problems with their English ability in Hong Kong. Why? Watch and give your opinion. And let me be clear, I do not have the intention to bash anyone with my videos. On the contrary. So here's what I think. I think the answer is rather simple. It's the Hong Kong educational system that does not work. I'm sorry, Hong Kong, but you've got to face the facts. Let me explain. It's perfectly fine if you disagree. 80% or more of the Hong Kong children go to public schools, yeah? In those schools, the principal, school supervisor, headmistress or headmaster speaks okay English, but not great. How do you know that? Personal experience, my friend. I've spoken with several. One or several of these people are responsible for hiring English teachers. And I presume it's the principal, although I'm not 100% sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they hire native English teachers, they will pay a lot more than if they'd hire local Chinese English teachers. Now, whether or not salaries should be equal is food for yet another video. So for years on end, their budget has pushed them to make decisions to hire local Chinese English teachers. If they had the budget, you would all be learning English from native English teachers for decades, right? Now here's a possible scenario, and I'm not saying that this is the truth, but just a scenario, so hear me out. The person responsible for hiring English teachers in the public primary and secondary schools in Hong Kong usually has a lesser ability in English than the teacher they are interviewing. If those English teachers never grew up in a native English environment or never got to a native English level and still make a number of English mistakes, even in their interview, the person hiring them would not know. She would think, okay, she speaks pretty good English, better than me at least. I like her attitude, I'm hiring her. So what's the result of that assumption? Well, the result is that the native Chinese English teachers still teach kids English with mistakes. So how do you know that? Again, from experience. From talking to Chinese English teachers when I was distributing my leaflets for my English courses in the area where I used to teach. Add to that in many schools where the medium of instruction is English, I believe that the English ability of the chemistry teacher, for example, is seen as far less important when it comes to hiring them than the English ability of the English teacher. Nonetheless, they are hired to teach chemistry in English. And yes, you've guessed it, they teach their subject in not so great English. So what could be the final result of that? That the majority of the children learn English wrongly in Hong Kong, and these children think they are being taught correctly. They strongly believe that what their teacher tells them and how their teacher tells them is great English, so they copy that. And rightly so. It's their teacher. I would do exactly the same if I were in their shoes. As a kid, I would believe every word my teacher says. So they grow up, like most of you, thinking that they have good pronunciation. Why do you think that? Because in many cases, when I'm teaching children and adults alike, I have to tell them time and again, throw away what you've learned in the past. For Pete's sake, it's not correct. Sad to say, but you gotta start again. Learn from scratch. Learn from me. Learn from native English teachers. The way it is now is not the way I wanted or wished for, but it is the way it is. How can you say that with such certainty? Firstly, it's what I believe, because when I'm teaching adults, I often run into discussions with them where they tell me, yes, but everyone says it like that. Who's everyone? Well, they reply, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my teachers. And I ask, so are they native English speakers? And so they say, no, they aren't. And secondly, I came across many primary school students who told me things like, "But Mr. David, my teacher says athlete," or "My teacher says un comes before words starting with A, E, I, O, U." To which I then ask, is your teacher a foreigner, a native English speaker? And if you're a parent in Hong Kong, you know the answer to that question. Most of the time, they are not. You see, I believe there exists this vicious cycle of teachers teaching students incorrect English. Those students grow up and they become English teachers. And in their turn, they teach English incorrectly to their students. And my intention is to break that cycle. That's really my intention. Chinese teachers who teach English or other subjects in English, I'm talking directly to you right now. I am here on this channel and in my personal classes to make you aware of what your current ability in English means to the ability and the growth of the students you teach. And only you can look into yourself authentically and come forward to take action to upgrade your English ability for the betterment of all whom you teach. And you can do that. Yes, it's going to take something. Yes, there are going to be some struggles in that, but you have the ability. You have greatness in you. And I don't even know you, but I know you will not discover your greatness in your comfort zone. And you know how I think about living in your comfort zone, right? Currently, I am very happy to have at least one Chinese English teacher who found me through my channel and asked me to teach her. She understood that if she continued teaching kids the way she was doing, she would be at the cause of her students' bad English ability. And she didn't want that. She cares too much for her students to allow that to happen. I can only admire such people. So Jay, I'll call you Jay to conceal your identity. I really admire your stand for your students. You're an amazing human being. There you have it. That's what I'm thinking. And for the record, I myself am not a native English speaker. And I used to lie about this to gain business. But that's in the past and only the future lies in front of us. And I can confidently say that I do speak English natively, like a native, and that I'm a great teacher and I will always commit to being a great teacher. And for your information, when I first arrived in Hong Kong, my English was poor in comparison to now. I felt so guilty teaching bad English that I've done something about it, just like Jay did. I've taken action and devoted myself to lifelong learning English for the betterment of the people I teach. Now, I'm really curious about what you have to say in the comments, but I believe it was the right thing to do. Not for money, not for my channel, not for my identity, but for the betterment of everyone's English in Hong Kong. Ltsnet wanted to know how to pronounce these words. This, these, this, these. Okay? If you, yes, that's right, I'm talking to you, the person who's watching this video right now. If you want, I'll make another video only on the sounds of TH. But only if at least 10,000 people want it. How? Tap or click the card in the top right corner, there, and it's a simple question. Just tap it and answer it. Remember, at least 10,000 people. That's a lot, but we can do it. Let me know if this was helpful. Ltsnet. How do you pronounce that? So that everything or nearly everything is in English. Success. That way, you will next time when you hear someone saying success, user interface, you know they are wrong, never even you know why they are wrong, and if you know how to pronounce it correctly. To looking up these words quickly, and stay tuned.